What's up, everybody? Welcome to Heresy Financial. My name is Joe Brown, and today we are discussing the current coin shortage. Number one, is it true? Are we currently experiencing a shortage of coins in America? Number two, if it's true, what is causing this current coin shortage? And number three, does this point to truth about conspiracy theories saying the Antichrist is taking over the world right now and we're going to have a one world government in a cashless society? No, it does not. Let's dive in. Yes, the rumors are true. There is a current coin shortage across the states right now. It is increasingly difficult to get your hands on any large number of coins right now, depending on where you go, to the point where a lot of local merchants are asking you to pay with card only or asking you to pay in exact change. They don't have the ability to make change for you. Now, this has led to some speculation about the reasons behind it, about there being a concerted effort from the powers that be to take cash and coins out of circulation from the system so that we can move closer and closer to an all digital transactions, an all digital economy where there is no paper or metal money being traded, which would make it easier for monetary policy to have the intended effect, and it would also make it easier for the government to track all transactions. For money laundering, of course. The truth is, if you look at all the evidence, it really does look like this is just a short-term shortage of coins that was caused by a number of factors that came into play that was, they were not backed up by any intentions. Because of the coronavirus, there has been a massive wave of permanent closures of small businesses, and small businesses are the ones that primarily deal in cash and change, as opposed to most of the larger corporations are going to have the majority of their monetary transactions, money going in and out, are going to be done electronically. So most cash and coin transactions are done through small businesses. And even if you ignore the permanent closures, there's obviously even more small businesses that have been temporarily closed due to city, state, and national restrictions on quarantines and shutdowns from the virus. Add on top of that the fact that over the last couple of months, obviously we've had a steep decline in the amount of activity that people are going out and taking part in. And we see there's been a steep decline in the number of cash transactions that have been taking place across the board. Now, at first glance, this might not make sense as to why this contributes to a coin shortage, because coins are not consumable items. They're metal. There's going to be a constant supply. So why would there be a shortage? It's not as if these coins have been destroyed as a result of the coronavirus. Well, it turns out that it's just the lack of circulation that is causing a lot of the lack of supply right now, because most coins are being stored up where they would usually be going back into circulation, and in large part due to people just, they're storing up in their piggy banks, for lack of a better example there. There's less circulation, and so if you're in need of coins, you don't have a stash of coins at home, you're going to go to the bank to get coins, right? Well, where does the bank get their coins from? They get their coins and their cash from two sources. They get them from deposits, largely from businesses, and they also get them from the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve gets their coins from the U.S. Mint, who actually produces them. Well, this year, again, largely due to the coronavirus, the U.S. Mint production has been a lot lower than it normally has. Their production of new coins has not been on pace as the last couple of years, just because they've been on a more restricted production capabilities because of people not being able to come into work and having the same restrictions that a lot of other organizations are going through right now. And so because the one source that banks usually get a lot of coins from, which is commercial transactions and small businesses and people making deposits, since those aren't coming in, banks have been going to the Federal Reserve and saying, hey, Federal Reserve, we need more coins. But the Fed is going to the Mint and saying, hey, we need, you're not giving us enough coins. And so there's been a little bit of a rationing going on, to where the U.S. Mint is producing as many coins as they can, and then the Federal Reserve is taking those coins and distributing them out through to their banks, kind of on a rationed basis. Now, on one hand, I do not think that the Federal Reserve, anybody who's in charge of monetary policy or has any say in it, or even people in charge of fiscal policy and monitoring financial transactions, I don't think anybody's upset about this right now. I think the only people who are upset about it are the average, everyday people that are trying to go and pay with cash, and they can't because a store can't give them change. The people who don't have bank accounts, and so they don't have debit cards, and so there's a large population, especially poor people, that are being negatively impacted by this right now. But I don't think anybody who is in charge is upset about this, because it really does impact them in a beneficial way. As more and more transactions are digital transactions, and more and more money is stored in electronic storage systems, bank accounts, that are ultimately really just reserves at the Federal Reserve, this is really a welcome change for them. It is really difficult to control monetary policy the way they want to control monetary policy if there is an avenue out of electronic banking. If there's a large section of the population using cash and coin for most of their transactions, it's hard to have as tight of control on the money supply when you do have that physical outlet there. Similarly, no government will ever be disappointed about being granted additional power and the ability to monitor more and more percentage of transactions that are taking place, because they're not happening physically anymore and they're happening digitally. That's going to be something that they're going to be happy about as well. The government doesn't like cash transactions. They can't tax it, they can't watch it, they can't control it, they can't stop it. But despite the fact that these are beneficial things for the federal government and the Federal Reserve, and they're detrimental for the average person, especially the poor person who on average will use a lot more cash and coin than somebody who is wealthier, I don't think it is intentional. It still looks like, just if you look at all the reasons behind everything that's happening right now, it doesn't look like it was intentional. It doesn't look like there's any malicious intent behind what the mint is doing, what the mint is producing, how many coins the Federal Reserve is sending out to its member banks. It doesn't look like that at all. Now, there are two implications of this, and one implication of this is what we're going to spend the rest of the video on, and the other one is a topic for another video if you guys think you'd want to see a video on that. The one we're not going to talk about today is a transition to a cashless society and how to preserve your wealth in that transition, because it does look as if we're headed that way. All of the benefits go to the government in a society that's completely cashless and all digital transactions, and it looks like that's the direction that we're headed, at least legally, when you don't consider the black market. And so if you guys would like me to do a video on kind of navigating through a transition from our monetary system today into like a cashless society while being able to preserve your wealth and not having to break the law, let me know. I can put together a video like that if you want. But what we're going to talk about for the rest of this video is basically what this points more to in terms of implications for the free market versus government operated organizations. And really what this coin shortage is showing right now is just one more fantastic example of how anything that the federal government does and owns and operates and controls is largely just wasted resources, misallocated funds, and could be done far better by the free market, a private institution instead. So far this year, 54% of the coins that the US Mint has produced have been pennies. Pennies. What was the last thing you bought with a penny? I'll do you one better. When was the last time you saw a penny on the ground and while you were walking and you stopped to pick it up? Even further than that, I've actually dropped pennies before on accident and decided it wasn't worth it for me to stoop down and pick the penny up that I just dropped. So over half of the coins that the US Mint has produced this year have been coins that are utterly useless. And nope, that's not all. Not only are pennies useless, but they also cost a massive amount of money to produce compared to the actual value of the coin. Last year, the US Mint lost 99 cents for every 100 pennies they produced. It costs so much to make a penny that they're actually losing almost the full value of the penny by the time that penny has been made. Largely because of penny production, the US Mint operates at a net loss. Last year, they lost almost $70 million in their coin production. This is a perfect example of government-run institutions being extremely wasteful of resources, because no business that has a profit and loss, no company that is concerned about making money would ever make money at a loss. They're literally losing money in making money. And yes, the only reason why they still make pennies at the US Mint is because the one company that profits the most off of this, of sourcing the supplies to the mint, they pay a lot of lobbyists to ensure that the government continues to make pennies. And before we go, do not confuse this with capitalism. That is not the free market at work. The government granting special privileges at the taxpayer's expense for the profits of a private enterprise is not capitalism. That is not free markets. That is cronyism at best. So yes, there is a coin shortage, and no, it does not look like it was an intentional conspiracy by those in power, but it does benefit them because there's more, the Federal Reserve is more easily able to control monetary policy with less cash transactions taking place across the board. The federal government is able to more closely monitor all financial transactions that take place across the board, with them being more and more digital these days. And so if you would like me to do a video about navigating a transition to a completely cashless, a completely digital money ecosystem, let me know and I will put together a video like that for you. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't noticed already, I do have my merchandise shelf activated now. It's below all my videos, and I have not gotten my test orders in yet from the merchandise store that I'm using to do the printing and shipping. So if you want to wait until I get my test orders in so that I can make sure that there's no errors, that they look good, they feel good, don't buy them yet. I will get my test orders in, I will take a look at it, and then I'll show you guys the final results in an actual video, letting you know that they're good to go to be bought to pick up some merch. Thank you again so much for watching. If you liked the video, hit that like and subscribe button. You guys are the best. Have a great day.